accompanied by my lovely co-hosts, Justin Gilbert and Genesis Moore. And we are so excited to be back tonight. We are picking up from a conversation we had last week called Red Flags versus Green Flags. Genesis, do you want to explain the game?
Yes. Well, so for all the viewers at home that didn't catch us for last week, make sure you watch that episode because that was really good.
Yeah,
it was dope.
So good. But I will say, so green flags are, what do we say? Something that you can look past, something you can pass go. This isn't the end of a relationship, right? Whereas the red flags, girl,
Bye.
go home, okay? Don't walk any further. Don't go to anybody. Don't ask your homegirls. You need to leave. It's the red flags, all right? So that's how we've been deciding. And this has been a very interesting conversation with all of us.
It has.
It really has.
Difference of opinions is okay.
It is. Listen, fellas, these red flags are for you too. So, you know what I'm saying?
Don't try to take
Let's-
inventory of us.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Well, want to get right into the game?
Let's do it.
Let's
go.
do it. All right, first question we have on the docket. The person is very comfortable with their place in life. Is that a red flag or a green flag? Red for me. Why both for you?
So, I think as a man, I realized that getting to a certain place in life gave me a certain confidence where I felt like I could stand in any room. I had accomplished certain things for myself. And I do believe that it's good for a man to be very confident about where he is,
Right.
while still being ambitious and still having something to look forward to, still wanting more out of life. But I think it's important for people to be happy with themselves, be confident where they are, so that they can present the best version of themselves to you currently, as opposed to one day when I get this, then I'm gonna be who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Genesis?
Interesting. I like that perspective. But I think the key word in that was comfortable. That I took away from that.
Me too.
I'm just, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me personally. You
Yeah.
know, like, I'm ambitious. I'm always like, not, you know, looking forward to the next thing where I can enjoy where I am in the
Right now,
moment,
yeah, right.
but always looking for growing. Like, you know, I look at our time on earth as very precious and valuable.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things where I don't want to stay in one spot in my life. And I know if I'm with somebody that wants to stay in one spot in life and they're too comfortable there,
Yeah.
eventually we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That's just the
I
truth.
feel the same way. I think comfortable was the word that threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But to Justin's point, I think the green flag for a guy that's comfortable is he knows where he's going, and that makes him able to show up for a relationship in a way that you hear guys say all the time, oh, I can't be with you now until I finish getting myself together. I have to be in this certain place. I want to make this amount of money, or I just want to feel like I could take care of the household. And I'll do that better and engage with you better when I'm in a better position.
Right.
So I think for women, we're like, oh, like he's going to just settle, and I don't like that. He needs to remain ambitious. And I think
Yeah.
for men, when they figure out where they're going, correct me if I'm wrong, they feel more confident about being that provider in the relationship.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well said.
That's very well said. And you know what I like? That we all have three very different definitions of comfortable. You see?
Yeah.
Active
Interesting.
listening. I'm trying it, something new.
That's a good one. Well, Genesis, want to hit our next one?
Yeah, of course. So they bring up past disagreements when they get upset. Okay, this is a unanimous
cool.
decision.
This is a unanimous one.
I was like, I don't think there's like really a line. I personally don't like when people, you know, if we talk about something, if we've had the conversation, let the past be the past. I've learned, I'm over it, we're moving on, you know? But I think it's just, the only time it's ever a problem is if the person doesn't change how they move and they keep going back and doing the same thing over and over again.
See, I just had a light bulb go off in my head, and I don't know if it's necessarily a green flag, but it just made me think about some things that I do, and maybe I'm just thinking about myself, but I don't necessarily try to bring up past disagreements. I just bring up patterns. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if
Explain.
that's harboring on the past, but if you do the same thing over and over and over that I don't like, I'm going to tell you I don't like that, and I'm going to say you did that last week and I didn't like that either. Is that bringing up the past, or is it just catching somebody in a bad pattern?
You know, I think that it's not necessarily bad, especially if it wasn't discussed last week.
Yeah.
Then it's like, let me remind you, like, I think there are, you said the word pattern. I love that word. I think of people's behavior
Right.
in terms of threes. So it's like there's an incident, a coincidence,
Yeah.
and then a pattern. Now that I see you're kind of getting locked
Right.
into doing this, let me let you know this isn't working for me.
That's the word, locked in.
Locked
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important that people resolve issues and actually talk through it fully, because if it's unresolved, as soon as anything exacerbates that little wound, is going to open right back up, and people are going to want to get right back to those same hot moments and get all the stuff out that they've been thinking about since the last time it happened. So
Yeah.
Well, I think after 3 times, though, maybe
After
for me, after the 3 times, it's just like you're committed to who you are as a person. You know, so
And you gotta
maybe
live with it.
Your commitment to this is a little bit more
Right.
than what you're alluding to. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it ain't just something that you do, like it's in you. And if it's in you like that, you
Right.
know, is that a character flaw? Like when does it become like a character flaw and a behavior thing?
that's very interesting.
I think when it becomes, again, it's the pattern, the word pattern there. It's not that I want to keep bringing up the past, but
Yeah.
the past is the present. And why is the past the present? We can't learn for the future if we don't acknowledge the past.
Yeah.
So,
it can sometimes have a slight degree of pettiness.
It is
if it's
How
And I never said I
said-
wasn't petty.
Okay.
I am
so-
petty. But, even though this isn't a political show, George Bush once said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, I can't get fooled again. So that's just how I feel about it. You ain't about to keep fooling me doing the same stuff over and over and think I'm not about to say nothing about it.
Yeah, understandable.
And the toxicity persists, gentlemen.
continues.
But listen, no, I think people can. It doesn't have to be like, I hate when someone does something and they know they did the same thing and they be like, so when did I do this? And then like, so it's like you're kind of forced to
Show me an
like,
example.
rehash, and it's like, I'm more like, I'd rather not do that. Let's
Yeah.
just
Or
kind
when they
of.
hit you with why you keep bringing up old stuff? And like the old stuff was last night.
Yeah.
Well, it is in the past, but
I used to
whatever.
be a rehasher.
You're reformed.
I'm reformed. I like to think I'm reformed. Now I just look at it and say, all right, I told you, and then we're moving on. So, Justin, what's our next question?
Okay. Okay, now, let's see. This is a good one. How soon is too soon to introduce your boo to your kids? Silence. I love it.
Well, we can't use the flags.
Oh, yeah.
Soon. Good timing. Soon. Nah.
What's up, House of Hope? It's the Flavor King, and welcome back to Cooking with Flavor KL. You know what time it is. It's time for me to show you how to make chili.
But that was one of my favorite moments of this season.
Oh my God.
Look, and Maria's turning red over here.
Right.
He just went in on me for real. I'm like, oh my God.
How do you decide what is a priority at the moment versus something that you can complete at a later date?
What feels right in the moment? Because sometimes it's like, okay, this is really high on my priority list, but I really just don't feel like it. But I think that in order to be productive is like, do what's best for what you feel like in the moment. So if this easier task is easier for you, do that and then tackle the harder task.
Welcome back to Single in the City. I'm your host, Justin Gilbert, joined by my lovely and talented co-hosts, Genesis Moore and Tiara Berry.
Hey.
Okay, so let's get right into it. As a father of one 14-year-old son, I'm constantly getting asked questions by other singles with kids about how soon is too soon to introduce your boo to your kids. What do you ladies think about it?
I don't even know if I'm qualified.
I don't know if I'm qualified, but I have dated men with kids.
Same.
Okay.
So, I want to hear from you first, though, because you are the one at the table with a child. When do you normally introduce?
Okay, great question. For me, I'm all about letting things happen organically, like, because when it comes to that relationship, I don't, I think it's wise to kind of get to know a person and make sure their values and, you guys are congruent in certain areas before you start introducing them into your, child's life.
Right.
Because what you don't want to happen is for y'all to break up and then that relationship between them and your child is severed, thusly leaving your child, you know what I'm saying?
That's very hard.
In that whirlwind of all of the breakup controversy. So because you don't want to do that, I err on the side of waiting until you know this person's going to be around or, they're going to, be in your life. And, I know that that's different periods of time for different folks, but generally for me, it's no less than 6 months, I would say probably a year before they're initially meeting them. And then after meeting them, that's not even talking about activities and actually spending time with this person. I wouldn't want to do that until I was, I would say, in the courtship phase. And I'm courting this woman. I know that I want her to be a part of my forever. So let's, let's get this blended family thing kind of moving towards where it needs to go so everyone gets comfortable and acclimated with each other.
Genesis, can you remember the earliest you met a child or when, if you dated someone with a kid?
I never met their child.
I'm in the same boat.
But it was okay because it was like one of those things where it was like, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's a lot of pressure.
And
Is it?
sometimes I'm afraid of the child. I'm also not afraid of the baby mama, but sometimes I think about that. What does it mean for me to be in this child's life and there's another party who's not a part of the conversation currently that is also affected? So when you have introduced women to your son, do you have a conversation with his mother about that?
That's a good question.
That is a great question. I generally don't. I think that as a co-parent, one thing that you learn in order to keep confusion minimal is to let people run their household how they run it and how they deem best. You know what I'm saying? Because you are co-parents and you trust each other with the life of your child. So you understanding that the child is priority for both of you, you would, hopefully have that level of trust with your co-parent that you don't necessarily concern yourself with the details about what's going on in their home because it's not unhealthy for your child.
It's bubbling up. Okay.
Come on.
Well, in that case, right? So you say you don't like to hear, but kids talk. They love to talk, and it's good to ask kids questions because they're gonna tell you all the tea when you ask them.
You asked them? Oh, well, you say you never met a kid.
No, but I've been a kid. My parents have been divorced. I used to talk,
You was the talker.
I was a talker.
Okay.
I used to tell my mom about, I never really talked about my dad. I never talked about my mom to my dad with who she dated, but I was always kind of telling my mom about who my dad was dating.
Yeah, you was spying.
I was spying on things. And
the kids do be the ops.
we do be talking. And I do wonder, though, like, if your son was to say, mom had somebody over on Monday, somebody else on Tuesday, somebody else on Thursday, the other guy on Friday was different from him, would you start to get concerned like you're just bringing too many different men around
my
my
question.
child? Or do you just stay out of it? Because I think for me, it's nice to see that they're moving on, they have a significant other, and if you're good at co-parenting, then you support their relationships. But at the same time, don't confuse my kid, and I'm not a parent, but don't confuse my kid with all of these different men, you know.
Yeah.
Because I used to hear from my mom and joking, like, I got you a new daddy. And I was like, girl, no, you don't. I have a father. Stop telling these men they my new daddy. But good thing I've healed from that thanks to therapy. But at the same time, I think we do have to be conscious of how often we introduce people to our kids.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to confuse the child and, like you said, get them attached. And I think that sometimes the co-parents need to have a conversation about when it's too soon to introduce someone for the sake of the kids.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Now
I think that's a great point.
I'm super blessed, you know what I'm saying, that I'm not dealing with anything as ratchet as that. And I celebrate my son's
I'm
mother.
gonna tell my mama you called her ratchet.
No, not her.
Right,
no,
right,
I'm
right.
just
You heard
saying.
him.
No. So it's like I think if that was the case and my son was concerned, then that's my end. Hey, the baby was concerned. We still call my son the baby. He's 14, but that's a parent thing.
That's really cute.
It happened. It just pops out. Okay. But I do think there has been times when I did discuss the presence of another woman with her. The last time I can remember doing that, my son was graduating from 7th grade, and my girlfriend at the time wanted to attend the ceremonies. And they had a relationship. It was cool. So I let her know, hey, this woman's going to be along with me, celebrating this day with us, with our family. And she was cool with it. So
That's good. It seems like y'all have a good relationship, and that's
Yeah.
important.
we do. You know why, though?
Why?
Because I stopped smashing her. And that's something that, you know what I'm saying?
That's
People
real,
don't want
though.
to talk about that, but that's the reality of it. If men don't want that drama, then they don't want to
They have
keep
to cut it
on.
off.
They got to cut that off and keep the focus solely on the children.
Wow. Wow.
So do you ever think about who she dates now, or like is it solely focused on the co-parenting part? Because I think when we talk about what it's like to date someone in a relationship, what it's like to be in a relationship with someone with children, I think we also have to consider what it's like for the person who is now dating to co-parent with someone that they were previously involved with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
What's
what is
that
it, how do
adjustment
you
period?
stop carrying someone and being in love with someone that you share a child with and move on successfully? Do you ever?
The same way that you end any other relationship, whether there's a child involved or not. You know what I'm saying? Once you make that
It seems harder.
decision,
harder.
well, the child is the glue. That's the bond there, and for that there should be, you should value that person because they gave you something of that magnitude, and that's something that y'all share. So that commitment in and of itself is very special. Like shout out to the co-parents that are really valuing each other and showing that respect and that honor. I think, moving on, I definitely don't concern myself with how she moves because I trust her, and I can say about her and any of my exes, I want them to be happy.
That's nice.
And I'm a bit different. I'm not as territorial or I don't think of people. I don't think of women that I've dated as like my property.
yours, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like these are people that I love, and I want to see them happy. So you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't care if my ex married my brother. Like I don't care. I just want everybody that I love to be happy. If that's how they're happy, cool. I don't raise questions.
Genesis, I have a
That's-
question for you.
Oh, for me, okay.
Dating someone with a kid, is
Yeah.
it easier to date someone who has an older child or a younger child? Does that come into effect? Like if they got a 2-year-old versus a 14-year-old, does that make a difference? Because then you have to consider how long do I have to deal with the drama, if there is any, of the co-parent?
I would imagine it would be easier if they were older. I've never dated someone with a small child before.
Right. Who can't call? The mama gotta call,
And you gotta,
your baby want to talk to you.
Right, but I do have friends that have been put in that situation where it's like, hey, the baby just got here 3 months ago, like less than a year ago, and I've asked them how they've handled that situation. I think one of the best scenarios I've seen is with one of my girlfriends who's actually getting married, very soon, is that it's kind of what Justin said too. Her fiance has really good boundaries with his son's mom, So it's more so of a, this is your day to do this is your day to do that. And I asked my friend, I'm like, so do you pick, the baby up from school on Thursdays when they can't do it? And she's like, no, that's not my child. Which is something very different. I said, but you're getting married. She was like, if there's nobody else there and his parents can't do it, then yes, I will step in and do that. She was like, but I don't get into the middle of it and make what their child does my personal responsibility. She pretty much formulated it to me like she is the fail-safe, or like she's the number 2, like I'm the second layer.
Right.
Like your parents got to do it together. That's their business with you as their child, but I'm on the second layer of things. And, I'm going to be around. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'm going to make sure you don't have to want for anything, but I'm not going to be overly invested trying to be your mom too, because that's not my position. And that was the first time I'd ever really heard of it like that. I was just like, dang, I would imagine myself as a stepmom, though, like stepping in and just being
the
like.
bonus mom.
Right, bonus mom, me and my baby, taking pictures and stuff like that, oh, the son that I never had or something, but when she said it that way, it made a lot of sense. And I think it kind of eliminated a lot of the jealousy that maybe the son's mom might have had. She didn't feel that, and they had a conversation about it, she didn't feel that my friend tried to step in on her territory, making important decisions for, the kid and stuff like that. She was just there to simply assist and love the dad, and that was their relationship, and love the son, but she, disciplines him and all that good stuff too. But only when he's out of pocket.
Which is often with these kids.
Well, he actually really loves and respects her,
good.
as stepmom. Like, she's really cool though. Like, she's one of I've been best friends with her since 7th grade, so it's like, she cool, So the kid, he loves it. They go do things together, but it's not she doesn't try to actively be like a parent to him, more of like a friend.
Good.
Well, that's so dope. We've got more on this topic when we get back from our messages. Stay tuned.
We're going to talk about something that you hear more and more about today. Seems like you hear about it more than we ever did before, and that's dementia.
It's not just old folks' disease. It's not just old folks need to worry about it. Anyone can get dementia. You can get it as, we have people that's in their 20s and 30s that have been diagnosed with it. And then also, if you don't have dementia, you may be a family caregiver or care partner, and you're still impacted, and you still need to know about the disease so you can be able to better support your family or friend that is living with dementia.
Y'all didn't know the answer to this, but John P. Key is your name, but what does the P stand for?
The P actually stands for Prince. Dr. Scott and Brian Scott, years ago when I signed my first deal, they ran with it and started the Prince of Gospel, but that's where it came from. Lizzie and John named me John Prince Key.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Single in the City. I'm your host, Genesis Moore, with my beautifully phenomenal co-host, Justin Gilbert, and Miss Tiara Berry, everybody. So now we're going to get into our Q&A section, guys.
Let's go.
All right, so these are some questions from our viewers, you guys at home who have been tweeting us, you've been Instagramming us, all of those great things, and we want to make sure that we answer the questions that you have, because y'all got some good questions.
Yes.
So, number one is it wrong for a woman to want a good relationship between her child and significant other before they take it to the next level? So should Lil Ray Ray and PJ get along before me and PJ decide it's time for us to go to the next level?
I think so. I think you don't want to wait too late and then you're deep into something and you realize this person isn't going to be a good fit for your kid. Because at the end of the day, it's a package deal. You can't get me and not get my kid. So,
that's very true, but
That's one school of thought.
okay.
I think not. I don't think they necessarily have to bond prior to, like, say, PJ wanting to marry, you know what I'm saying, Ray Ray's mom. So it's like, because at the end of the day, hopefully, we're raising Ray Ray to not be here. Okay? He's going to go off to school, off to college, and on with his life. What we're trying to build, what PJ and baby moms are trying to build, is something forever. That's their union. So I don't think that they should, overly consider PJ, especially depending on,
Ray Ray.
Ray Ray. They shouldn't overly consider Ray Ray unless Ray Ray is going to be there for a long time. So maybe his age depends.
Well, okay.
Maybe that's a factor.
But
That's a good point.
You also don't want to put a monkey wrench in a good relationship between a child and their parents. Like for me, I've always been told to talk to my parents about how I feel about things, and I was encouraged to speak my mind. As y'all can see, I have no problem saying how I feel.
We love you for it.
And I think because of that, being able to have that transparency has been good for me and my parents' relationships. Hasn't always been good for the relationships with their significant others. But I think there's a respect factor that I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I don't want them to sugarcoat anything. And I think that being able to bond with the significant other of my parents or just have a conversation with them and get to know them has been important for me. I don't want to not get to know the person that my parents are with, but because it's ideally too soon or too late for a relationship, if that makes sense.
I see. So being that you don't live at home with your parents, though, should they consider how your perspective of their, boo is? Like, should they say, oh, well, Tiara,
It might not be a deal breaker, but I think I'm a good judge of character. And I think kids are a good judge of character that care about their parents, because if you're a petty kid and you just don't want to deal with the fact that your parents aren't together anymore, then you might just hate anybody that comes into their lives.
Right.
But if you're very comfortable in the fact that okay, my parents, they were what they were, I came from it, they love me, we're still a family some way, but people move on and they have to go on and be happy. That's how I want my parents to be. I want them each to be happy. So I think that they care about my opinion and they don't think I'd steer them the wrong way. So I think if a kids are a good judge of character, then the parent should be open to what they have to say about the significant other.
Okay.
I think I agree with both. I do think age plays a factor.
For sure.
If you're older and, for example, I have a stepdad. I don't think about him and my mom. I love them both. If they ever have an argument or something like that, I am going home.
Okay.
You don't like what I said? Y'all got an issue where I'm going to my house,
Right.
You guys stay at your house, I'm staying at mine. But I think when we're talking about smaller children, too, I think it is important, especially if that person is going to be around for the rearing and raising of a child. So if there's not a mutual respect because they don't like each other, I do feel that should be strongly taken into consideration before taking it to the next level of marriage and moving in together. Indeed. Because as baby moms, you're going to be in the middle, I would imagine, right? And you don't want to be in the middle and then it becomes a thing like, you
Yeah.
know, well, now you're talking about the dad getting involved and all this other
Right.
stuff. It just makes it really, really messy.
Yes.
So I think it should be talked about and predetermined what the next level is. Yes, we're together. Maybe because you and Ray Ray don't get along, it has to be honest too. You know, you and PJ and Ray Ray, y'all don't get along that well.
Right.
And that's a lot. And I love my son and I love you. So maybe we should just continue to live apart until he gets to a certain age where he's gone.
Yeah.
Then we talk about moving in together or like, you know.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to do it, but you do have to be considerate of everyone's feelings involved.
For sure.
That's super good perspective. I think I like yours. It was like the perfect in the middle thing to do.
Yeah, it's like,
Check
because when you have a kid, you can't do everything like you used to do no more. You can just move in with everybody.
Facts.
Yeah. Facts.
Okay.
You have one?
So, I'll ask one. You guys kind of, okay, yeah, we covered a lot there. Okay. Should your boo be introduced to your co-parent before being introduced to the child?
Oh, that was a good question. Ooh, shout out to whoever wrote that.
Little birdie. I know.
Should the boo be introduced to the parent, co-parent first before the child?
Right.
I think it depends on the age. I think it's all an age factor.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
I think that if it's a young child, then that child doesn't necessarily get an opinion because they don't always understand. So I think maybe 5, you can start to articulate a little bit more, but like 5 and under, 5 below, it's important for them to maybe interact. But once a child is old enough and they have their own phone or they have, again, phones is very important because I don't want you calling my man. Anyway, phones is important for kids to have so they can contact their parents and the parents don't have to contact the other parent.
Yeah.
So I think that
I agree with that.
So I think that it depends on the age of the kid overall.
Yeah. I think, you know, as we briefly discussed before, I do think that as co-parents, you trust the other person's judgment and know that they wouldn't do anything that could negatively impact the kid. So in the spirit of, you know, people managing their households the way they see fit, I don't necessarily think they need to be introduced to the parents before being introduced to the child, but I do think it's nuanced, and I mean, you know, but overall, no, I think I would kind of lean on my judgment as to if this is a good move, and you know, whether or not to proceed.
Yeah, and if it's serious, because it's like, if it's serious, then you might want to start letting the co-parent know, like, hey, this person's going to be coming around more often. I want to introduce our kids to this person because they're going to be around. Because I've ran into, you know, women that my dad has dated, and I didn't even mean to run in. They was just there, and it's like he didn't even get a chance to tell my mom because he didn't know I was coming over. So you know, but I was older, and those things happen. So I think it depends how deep the relationship is going before you share with the co-parent, because sometimes co-parents do it just to be petty, like, oh, I'm dating this person or I have this person in my life, just to be petty. But when it affects the child, I think that there needs to be some type of conversation of like, I'm really going to take this person serious. They might have met in passing, or you say, hey, this is Miss So-and-so, or this is Mr. So-and-so. But I think when you do go to that deeper level and you want to talk to your kids about, hey, I think this person is going to be in our lives, and I think that you should get to know them on a deeper level, then of course the co-parent should know about it.
Yeah. I kind of think I can see both sides, but a part of me is like, maybe the kid first in like a very casual setting, because if you don't get along with the kid,
right,
ain't no need of him knowing what I got going on, man. You know, so it's like we don't even need to go down that road.
Right.
But on the other hand, I think, you know, if, like you said, if the kid is very, very small, like you're talking like a baby or a toddler, and you have a child that young, I think it does have to be said, because there might be certain things that parent can bring, you know, to the table as far as, hey, I know you don't have kids and you're gonna be around my newborn child. Here's some things like, they can't have this. They only drink this. They're allergic to that.
Okay.
Certain conversations that have to be had as a unit
Right.
in order to protect the child.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in that situation it's very imperative, but if it's just
Pass.
Ray, it's like, he had Chuck E. Cheese, like, this my friend, Miss Sasha, right here, something like that. That's fine.
Well, shout outs to Ray Ray and PJ. And
Yeah,
to
hope
the-
y'all doing well out
You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for joining us this week. We look forward to kicking it with you next week. And until then, remember, being single is not a sentence, but an opportunity for you to prioritize yourself and God.
Amen.
Peace, y'all.
Want to do it?
You're my lucky strike.